on for 1,000 years. Oh my squish, am I excited to be here in this Cwtch with you, in my new space, with my new whip, with my new time, because oh my gosh, the summer holidays have just ended. I took a deep sigh of relief yesterday when I realised that I could have some more time to talk to you. Woohoo! Hiya Squishers, and welcome to my cozy corner, Cwtchy squishy area, where I thought I'd bring my knitting and a drink and catch you up on all the stuff I've been doing, because crikey, it's been weeks. I've even been like having to write down a few things about what I'm going to talk about, because oh my gosh, there's a lot. So I am going to briefly introduce myself, because if you're new here, my name is Kate. Hiya! I dye yarn full time. I love it. It's my job. It's my birthday. I love yarn. As you can see, this is one of my cozy squishy corners in my house that has a lot. Some of the colour I like to work with. Like this is just a snapshot into like what I like doing, which is colour, yarn, colour, squish. If you would like to have some inspiration for patterns, pop along to the website. It's www.kateselene.co.uk. And on that note, I'm Kate Selene. So it is always a little bit strange talking about myself in the third person. Do you know what I mean? So if I look weird when I'm saying it, like Kate Selene, that's my name. Why? Just because I had no idea that I was ever going to get to this point dyeing yarn. Like for real, it's been 6 years. This is not where I didn't think this is where I was going to be. So I didn't really plan out a name, you know? So I thought it'd just be me, because I just thought if I'm just me, then it can just be whatever, which is a good job, because today we're going to talk about whatever I want. Yes, because I've actually got stuff to show you and some stories about what's been going on, because I have definitely been knitting quietly. Well, I didn't knit for the first couple of weeks that I wasn't around. Sorry. It wasn't you. It was just life got so busy. Like it's been crazy. But some of the things that we did take advantage of, because obviously the girls are getting older. My girls are 8 and 6. Oh my gosh. Wow. The nights are getting darker earlier, and also they stay up a little bit later. So we've been doing some really fun things at the summer holidays, which I love, like, because I love being outside. So I've been doing like evening walks with John, Minnie and Tabby. Oh my gosh. So I've been trying to squeeze in all of the stuff, like squeeze it in, even if it's like late at night. And the one thing I haven't managed to squeeze in a lot of lately is knitting. Not because I don't love knitting. I love knitting. I love knitting. It's just that, you know, you've got a lot of stuff going on. Like, we all talk about this quite a bit. Like, when there's stuff going on and you've got to squeeze all the juice out, sometimes the creativity is the thing that goes out the window. So I have been making sure that I don't have to remind myself, my creativity, just like yours, doesn't go nowhere. It's just hanging around, just waiting. So I don't have to worry. So I had to just wait until the time came for me to decide on a new project. I'm going to put my arm here. Because I've been having so many things to make, so many things to dye, so many things to knit, so many things to do. So I just couldn't decide on a project, and I couldn't decide whether I wanted something small, but then I was like, oh, it could be big, but then what colors, what sizes? Do I do something new? Do I do something old? Do I do some borrow, something blue, something old? Who knows what I'm going to do? And I just decided I just wanted something really easy. Easy was my game. Easy, and not something that would... I wanted a project that I could just keep on going. Because I like those... Do you like those projects? Because sometimes you like a nice short, sharp project, something that you can just turn around in like, whoop, 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 done. But other times, when life gets busy for me, I tend to find that I just can't think straight about craft. I can't. I'm just like, whoa! Like I almost need somebody else to make the decision for me. which is useful because I've made lots of decisions for myself in the past in terms of patterns, stuck them up for myself. Generally, it's like a personal reference. So anytime I feel like that, I'm like, which one of my patterns would I love to make again? And this time, things have changed. Last time I was like, do I want to make another one of these? It was like it morphed into something totally different, which is called the catelet, which is what I'll talk to you about in a little while, because this is a saga. This is like, there's loads of stories to be told. But the squishy dot blanket is one I adore for lots of reasons, because make it as big or small as you like. You can start and finish wherever you want. And also, it's got so many different like applications, which I love exploring, applications. So I plumped for a squishy dot blanket, and I just didn't want to make a decision about color. I was like, oh no, like, do you know when you have so much choice that sometimes the choice is a bit overwhelming? It's okay. I build in safety nets for myself. They're called squish palettes or cut. You know, when you just have like a go-to. So when I'm like, I like to go for calm. So I went for something landscapey. And you're like, oh, just get on with it, Kate. Hang on. I've got things balanced precariously. I decided that I really wanted not a giant squishy dot blanket, because the giant ones, this is an 800-gram squishy dot blanket. Look at that slice of rainbow. This is in DK, hundreds and thousands. There's kits in the shop, but my mum made this for me ages ago, because I was like, I just don't think I could make a whole blanket. And when she made this just after I finished this Mahoometh one. This is the big baby blanket. Like, this is ginormous. I made this last year during lockdown, and I was like, I just can't do another blanket. How many blankets does one person need? Well, this one is being commandeered by the kids, so I'm just like, whoop, that's fine. I don't have to worry about adding to the numbers there. But I've been experiencing some lacking in my living room space. And if you've been here to talk before, like, I talk a lot about lots of stuff. But one thing I do like to talk about is how much I want to bring my knitting into my home in as many ways as I possibly can, without disappearing, you know, because if I put a jumper on right now, you'd be like, okay, I get your point. So I was like, ooh, what about some throws? Because it is getting, the seasons here in the UK, because that's where I am, we've gone from having like a glorious summer, it's getting a bit cooler, and all of a sudden it's got very cold. Like, so I was like, oh yes, that's just the excuse I need for a long knit. It didn't last as long as I wanted. This is what I made. And all the ends are already done, so I can just snip them off. This is the back, but this is the front. Look at that. Ooh. Like, I love this because I wanted to make something. I want to answer a question. How far would 2 skeins of slub get me with some mix of sock? This is how far it gets me. Quite far. Look at this. Oh my gosh. I've got to be careful I don't knock stuff around. I'm like a bull in a china shop. But look, I'm just like, just imagine sitting by a campfire and you're like, oh yeah, I've got something on my lap. Oh yeah. Or I could stick it around my shoulders and still roast marshmallows. My kids love marshmallows. Roast marshmallows. And I was like, yes. And this was inspired. This one, I took my inspiration from some, this time of year I love, because I get to pick the hydrangeas. They are everywhere in my house at the moment. They're hanging from the rafters, the walls, everywhere. There's just hydrangeas and lavender drying everywhere. So this one I referred to the hydrangeas to pick some colours up with, because I was looking for some inspiration for further stuff. So I was like, what if I throw these all together with the brown? Like, throw them is, yeah, I didn't think too much about them. Just like what I wanted next to the other one. What did I want? This is what I came up with, but then I finished it and I almost delayed finishing it. Do you know, like, do you delay reading a really good book? I've done that, because you're like, I've had such a good time. I just don't want it to end. That's how I felt about this blanket. So I was like, right, fine, I'll cast it off. yeah, cast it off. Then I was like, oh, lost again. But then I thought, who cares about if I need another blanket? Do I want another blanket? Yes, I do. And what kind of color am I going to go for this time? I thought, oof, I love that pink green number thing I had going on with a little top I made. I'll stick a picture on my blog to show you. I was like, ooh, what about, instead of like landscape in terms of like a nice brown with all the colors in it, what if I go with like just the pinks and greens? Again, the same idea. Oh, I love these. Same idea. 2 skeins of slub, and this one I used, oh look at this, how useful, strawberry and hillside. I love the hillside mix simply because it's got amazing pops of yellow in there, which just like really pump the game up of the yellow, because then it gives me opportunities to stick other colors with yellow in, which I do love. So I have been knitting this over the last couple of days, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which occurred to me. Oh, I'm still wearing it. Which occurred to me. Am I camouflaged yet? Some of the things that are useful to talk about with squishy dot blankets, because I love talking squishy dot blankets. I don't talk enough about them because I know loads of you knit them and have like questions about them and like what we could do with them. Oh, I could do loads of things. Ooh. If you like the squishy dot blanket and you're like, oh, I've done enough, turn it into a cushion. This pattern is in the on the website for free. Squishy dot cushion. Oh my gosh, you just go wild. Just go wild. Is that it's an awesome project for circular knitting needles, because I love a good circular needle and I get lots of questions about what are my favorites. Why do I use these ones? And also, what am I doing? When? With what? How? Those questions. So let's talk about circular needles. Now, when you start off the squishy dot blanket, I can totally imagine that you might start off feeling a little bit like an octopus, because that's how I feel. Because to start off a squishy dot blanket, ooh, this talking is exciting. When you start it off, you need to start off with double pointed needles. Yeah, you pretty much do. Because you just can't do it any other way. And believe me, I have tried. So, starting off with squishy dot blanket, if you want to try this pattern at home, this is not like Blue Peter. Double pointed needles are what you need, or anything as close as you can get it. Now, I have used needles on the ends of the interchangeable needles. Like, you can substitute tons of these for DPNs if you've got enough needle sizes that are right. But DPNs to start with, and once you cast on and get over your octopus fingers, I will do a video of me doing mine, trying not to look like I'm knitting an octopus or being an octopus or looking very confusing, because it looks crazy sometimes when I'm doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, is it there? And then sometimes it emerges out of the mist, or rather out of the center, like, oh. So if you're having the experience, like me too, all the time, and I've kind of learned to embrace it, and I've had a fun couple of experiments with different ways of casting on that I can show you that might help you too. And if you would like to do a squishy dot blanket and you're new to casting on and around, I would suggest go thicker, like be a bit squishier, because it's easier to not miss stuff when it's bigger. That's the truth. When it's bigger, it's harder to miss. That's like a lesson for loads of things, isn't it? When it's bigger, it's just harder to miss. Like life lessons there. Talking about lessons, about life, things I've learned about needles in the last couple of days, which I completely forgot. These needles here, these needles right here, I absolutely love them for lots of reasons. These are not the ones I use all the time down here, which are the Denise knitting needles, which this is very thirsty work, you know, which I stock on the website, and I am using the 6mm ones in this kit here. These are like Denise knitting needles are one of my, no, they are my fave for lots of reasons, because of the things I find problematic with other needles. Now I love interchangeable needles. I have loads of sets, and maybe I could do it what sets for what, or what do I like about the sets, because I've got Cubics needles. I bought sets of like Diddy ones, big ones, acrylic ones, bamboo ones, because I was like, what is my needle style? Like who am I? Who am I as a needle? Because if you don't know, it's kind of hard to kind of get on with your knitting. So I tried loads. And one of the things I always found very distracting, is that they would untwist every time I knit. Even if I'd done a couple of rows, I swear I'd be like, yes, tighten them right up. And then all of a sudden they'd just be catching my yarn. So I love circular needles. I love interchangeables, like any of them trump straight needles, because octopus hands. My arms are just too small for straight needles. It's just like watching, it is comical. Less comical watching me knit with these, to be totally fair. But these are circular needles, and these are shorty type ones. I could put some information about this in my blog if you fancy it. Some of my needles I like to use. But when you're doing a squishy dot blanket, you're going to go from double pointed needles to some small circular needles, and then you're going to graduate to longer cables. Now, the difference between these and these, for me, apart from the fact that they're acrylic fun, I love the colours, I can't lose them, I thought, until you look around and assume that maybe it is quite easy to lose needles of those colours in my knitting, is that even though these screwed off, the Denise ones, they just pop in and snap together. They just go together. So I like that about them, is they don't go anywhere. And also, the connectors don't wiggle apart and just like dump my knitting everywhere. I had a moment when I knit my giant baby, like this one. It's massive. I can't even remember how heavy it was, but it was so big. Maybe it was because it was just so big and I just exceeded the weight limit. You know, sometimes that's just very likely. I exceeded the maximum weight needle limit weight. It just, in the middle of it, right as I was doing like the outer edges, when it was huge, it just dumped all my needles, all my stitches, and it just like chased itself up because I'd been bunching, because I didn't have enough space. Dumped them all. And I thought it was only going to happen once, and it happened 3 more times. I almost was like, I just can't do it. There was hundreds of stitches to pick up, but I learned my lesson. Lesson number 1, when you're knitting big blankets, heavy items, tops, tubes that are large to make into jumpers, cover that in a different story. I always find it's best practice, because I am like, this is how I would prefer to move my stitches. And then, but that's no way to go. It's no way to go, and it's no way to treat your needles. And how can I expect respect of my needles if I'm not treating them respectfully? So now what I do is I locate the connector section, because I don't even want to risk it. Don't want to risk it, you know? Hold that. Then I just pull them out. But I make sure that I don't just go, on the connecting points. So I would suggest, if you're making a blanket, find some comfortable needles. Bamboo ones are lovely because they're nice and warm. Acrylic ones are the same because they warm up to your body temperature. Metal ones, I do have something to say about metal ones, which I can't say about the plastic ones, which is just the difference in like, do you need one or the other? My stitches fly off a metal needle set, fly off it. Whereas these, I'm less likely to have like stitches just shooting off because I'm just like, oh no. So here you go. This is what I'm currently making, a squishy dot blanket, inspired by the outside, because I have been outside quite a lot lately, trying to take in the scenery in a number of ways. Of course, the late night walks, so that's nighttime, but it's nice to see all the wildlife, and actually the silhouettes are amazing. But even in the daytime, I've been wombling around trying to find out what's around me, because I'm also behind me. I thought I left them in there because the reality is this is where my metal detectors live. These are my metal detectors. So I have some metal detectors that I take around and just discover buried treasure, or just history. I like just discovering history. And because I've been all over the place, trampling through places I've never been before, I found some amazing finds, which have really helped me kind of think about what kind of direction I want to go in. Like, where do I want to be going with my colours this year? Like, where am I going? And I sense that there's like a split between like my landscape interests and like outdoor and the full of colour stuff that's going on behind me, because they do feel like they belong in separate boxes just as I figure out where they're going. Because I found, look, this is colours inspired, things that are inspiring me. I went out walking just across the road and I found this amazing, like I've got a bucket list for a load of things, like, but finding a poison bottle was a bucket list find, because I've never found an old bottle. You're like, what, Kate, are you holding? This is so old. I love the fact that I have got like stuff from all around time, all different parts of history that I can bring home and just absorb into like my day. Like the idea of like filling my living room from a lot of knitting that inspired by the outside, so that when the seasons change, I've got something to remind me of them. Like this will always remind me of the hydrangeas. And I thought, you know, that's such a, look, even this, I've even found, it's not like a totally old coin. I found a lovely old sixpence, a silver one. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just gorgeous. And it was silver and I was like, yes. So I decided that this is going to be added to my jewelry collection, because I love a bit of jewelry. I love making jewelry into like stitch markers that I can like take off and stick on my knitting, inspired by the outside and the colours. Which has been leading on to loads of other thoughts that have been going around in my little mind about where are we going, Squishes? Where are we going? What's happening? What's going on? What's happening? What's occurring? Because actually there's so many things going on that I'm just like, right, let's find a calm path forward. So I'm going to be spending some time drinking a lot of coffee. Oh my gosh. I'm really focusing on my landscape colours, and separately the full of colours, which means that I've got some fun things coming up in the shop, in the website, about some of the things that I know, I love and you guys like about yarn, which is clubs. And I did clubs a while ago for a long time and I love that. But I kind of had so many colours, I was a little bit colourblind by the end of it. There were so many colours. I was like, whoa, I need a break, I need to step off, and I want to be able to use them. So I feel like I've had a really nice time using those colours, but there is still some more that I need to add. And I thought the best way of doing it, because then I can pace myself and have a discovery each month, is to do some new clubs so that I can actually help myself work out what I'm going to make. Because it's quite nice to have like a fresh approach on something, and just doing, like, I wouldn't have made this like a couple of months ago. I'd be like, oh no, I don't think those colours would go together. But when you kind of like put stuff together and you just do it, it kind of takes you in a different place. Like I would not have put the purples, like these purples, this one isn't in the shop. This is a totally different purple from what I've got on the pick and mixes, but it just pulls these colours together. And that's where I was like, right, that's going to be the next thing I do. And I'd love to do some like really lovely projects to reflect the colours in them. So if you're interested in a Kate SELENE club where you get Squish delivered to your door, and they'll be bigger sizes than the 10 grams, which means that we'll go for 20 grams per colourway, which means you'll have a lot more scope for use. Because the thing I found about the 10 grams, you can go wild, but 20 grams, if you're making something like a blanket, that's what I found, is 20 grams goes quite far. It goes quite far, and you can put quite a lot together to get quite a lot of variety. And I thought that is something that as I go through, I'm gonna have I'm stroking it. That's just how I am with this. I'm stroking it. Like, it'll give me a focus point. So each month I'll have something to do with the something to do, if you know what I mean. So that's where I am. Like, Squishmail, if you're interested, they'll be starting to go. What month are we in? September. October. I would say jump on the Squishmail, because time is whizzing by. We're in September. The kids have gone back to school. So I'll be opening it up fairly soon. But of course, I'm a one-person man band, or a one-man band person, dying all the squish, which is, I love it. But obviously, there will be spots that are limited and spots that will be different to normal, which means that if you don't do the subscriptions, or you weren't able to join my rainbow subscription, you get a chance to jump on this and do it one-off time only, which is fantastic actually, because sometimes you just need one pack. You just need one kit to try it out. So that's where my brain is going. I'm going full of colour. Where can I go with this? Because it's coming up to winter and Christmas, and I was also thinking, like, I want to make jumpers and cardigans, and I just need an excuse, you know? I need an excuse because I have a lot of choices to make about what I can, like, it's like being in a sweet shop when you can make anything and everything that your heart desires. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a regular routine just to keep you pinned down. And I think that will be my pinning down in this next couple of months, because I would really like to explore some new colours. And talking about colours, I have not painted anything for absolutely ages, which is something I'm going to be remedying now the children are back at school. And it's something that I really find goes hand in hand with my knit creativity. Oh my gosh, we've been invaded. With my knit creativity, sometimes my painting and my knitting disappear into a box at the same time, and other times they don't. But I'm looking forward to, now that I've got some mojo back in terms of direction, colours, I'm going to get my paints out and see what I can do. Because there's nothing like a bit of time, quiet time, to really reinvent the wheel and kickstart that thing that you had going on. So, my lovely squishes, I hope that since I've been away, you have been crafting your heart away and trying new things. Because sometimes I tell myself, sometimes I'm like, oh no, that might not look good. And even these combinations, I wasn't like, oh yes, ooh, random fly. But sometimes it's nice to try something totally different. So if you're in a bit of a funk, do what I did. Don't worry about it. Like, go and sing some tunes, go and do some dancing, like sporadic dancing randomly around the house helps a lot. Go and do something fun, and then just maybe choose something, like a picture or a postcard or a thing or an item in your house that you're just like, you know what, love that, I'm gonna go with that. And just choose something simple so that you haven't got to work any harder than you need to, and you get the pure maximum enjoyment of knitting, which is what we're here for, right? Pure maximum enjoyment of knitting. So, I hope you've enjoyed being with me in my Cosy Cwtch on a Friday. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how fast that week has gone. Catching up with some of the things I've been making and knitting and making and knitting and making and knitting. And hopefully I'll be seeing you a lot earlier than like the last time we had a break, like next week, for some more chats about some of the things I'm making and some catch-ups on some whips. And I will also show you some of the things in my basket over there. And that's the basket of stuff that didn't fit onto the shelves. And there's stuff down here too. So maybe we'll do a little bit of a, what could Kate not fit on a shelf? Because there's so much squish to show, we could be here all day. But I need a lot more coffee, and you'd need a lot more knitting, and probably a toilet break. Like, I'm sure you didn't think I was going to chat on for this long, but it's been so long, and I'm so excited. And I've got some knitting. So, my squishers, I will leave you with that. Farewell, have a wonderful weekend. And if you want to catch up, stay in touch, find out about the clubs, join the Squish Mail. It's over my website, www.kateselene.co.uk. And go and grab yourself a pattern. It's for free. Like, literally, no purchase necessary. Just go and grab a pattern, be inspired and get excited. And have a wonderful week, wherever you are. Toodle pip squishers!